What's up guys, this is Chris here, and today we're going to be doing a 1,000 round review. Today we're going to be talking about the M&P 2.0 metal series, specifically the 4.5, but we will be referencing the competitor as well. Now, I do have 1,000 rounds down on the smaller one, not quite on the bigger one yet, so you're gonna get a full review of this one later, but I do wanna use it as kind of a talking point to reference in the video. Now, the M&P series is a gun that I've had on the channel many times, and there's a reason for that. I like Smith Wesson, I like the M&P series. I think that it is a good competitor to companies like Glock or Walther or HK. I think they're a polymer frame striker fired gun that comes in at the right price. It's been around a long time and it has an amazing track record with not only civilians but law enforcement as well. So I think that the M&P series in itself is pretty proven already. But how does it fare with the new metal frame and some of the changes that Smith Wesson made? Because they didn't just change the frame, they actually changed the trigger mechanism and a few other things as well. Now, before we get into that, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you I have guns and ammunition like this, and if you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Just go to the link in the description and sign up. Also, you can use Super Thanks if you don't like Patreon. It buys guns and ammo either way, so we appreciate it. There's also a link in the description for a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. It could really use your help, so please get on that link and donate to that youth shelter. I also want to give thanks to a couple of my friends. I want to thank Manning & Sons. He sponsors all of our 1,000 round reviews now, and I really appreciate him for doing that because ammo costs is through the roof. So thank you very much. Go over and check out Manning & Sons. And I also want to thank Elliot. He owns Mr. Guns in Waterloo, Iowa, and he let me borrow this for review, so I appreciate it. Now, before we get into it, let's talk about the M&P 2.0 metal, and let's give you some specs. So first off, this is a 4.5-inch gun, and it has a 30-ounce overall weight. It is a aluminum alloy frame, striker-fired pistol with an optics-ready system, steel sights. It's got a Picatinny rail right out of the box. It's got this cool new gray Cerakote, which we're going to be talking about. It has a significant change to the M&P trigger that allows it to be a little bit flatter, a little bit lighter, and it works a little better overall. At the bottom we have this aluminum frame that has the Cerakote through here. It has polymer grip inserts. You can have 3 or 4 of those, so you can change not only the size of your grip but kind of the angle as well. And then it has a polymer insert here as well with a 17+1 round magazine capacity, and I believe it comes with 2 mags. It is the same old M&P with kind of a new twist. Now, it has the same 18-degree grip angle as well, so you 1911 guys are going to like that. That's one of the reasons why people go to M&P over something like Walther or Glock, is because you don't get the European-style grip angle, you get the American-style 1911 grip angle, and that's personally one of the things that I like about it. I also like that it comes with the same aggressive texture on the grip that the previous one does, because I like that as well. Glues in your hand and allows you to shoot it a little bit quicker. Plus it has quite the palm swell on it, so it's good for my big hands. We got ambi slide stop on each side, takedown lever instead of the Glock takedown, which I like a lot. You can do that in adverse conditions a little bit better because you can ram on it, and you can use tools if you have to. The magazine release is swappable to the other side. The competitor actually comes in the box with an extended magazine release, although I wouldn't recommend that. We've got the fish scale serrations on the classic 4.5, but they are a little bit more aggressive and they are a little bit more to grab than the previous model. On the competitor, they kind of do away with that a little bit more, and we have even wider ones, which are even easier to use, so I like that a lot. Now, the new metal frame, not only do they come with the same barrel, I think it's like 1 in 10 twist, 9mm, but they also obviously accept all of the M&P magazines. So if you have a standard M&P, you can pop these in here and they'll work all the same. I think that's kind of an obvious feature, but every once in a while you see some curveballs, so it's nice that they have that. Now, what I would use this gun for is probably the same thing I would use the polymer frame for, to be honest with you. The 4.5 makes a really great do-it-all gun. It can be easily carried at about 30 ounces, and the barrel's not too long where it's getting in the way of your naughty parts. But the gun itself actually works in pretty much everything you can think of. Because of the aluminum alloy, it does feel pretty good in the hand, and you can shoot it relatively quickly. So home defense, concealed carry is great, but you can also use it for competition. Now, if you're going to use the M&P for competition, I might recommend the competition version of it, but again, that's going to get its own review. I just keep kind of showing it off because it looks really sexy. used for the same uses, but how does it fare against the polymer? Well, let's talk about reliability. They did change the trigger mechanism. They did change the trigger, or the sear angle and all that stuff to give it a little bit better angle for a little bit lighter pull. Now, sometimes that will change the reliability of the gun. In this case, not so much. We've had 1,000 rounds. A lot of that was Blazer brass. Some of it was critical defense 115 grain. Now, that's not a hollow point, but it is a ballistic tip, and sometimes that can cause problems. So we did run some through that. We also ran some cheap Phoenix ammunition remanufactured through it just to see, and no problems there at all, even though it's very light loaded ammunition. So it seems to me at least that it is as reliable as the M&P 2.0. Now, one of the issues that I see as far as like debris and dirt is you definitely can kind of see through the gun there under the slide release. Now, I know not a lot of people made a big deal of that, and it is what it is, but for me personally, getting debris and dirt in the trigger mechanism is like one of the #1 ways you can kill a gun. You can get a lot of dirt and debris, believe it or not, in like the slide and shit like that, and sometimes it doesn't work. But if you get something in the striker channel or you get something behind a trigger component, generally the gun is dead. So as far as adverse condition test, I didn't do that. But that could be a potential failure point that I just wanted to talk about. Now, did Smith Wesson probably do tests on that? I'm sure that they did, but it's just something that I wanted to point out. As far as reliability goes, it was 100%, and that is what I expected. To be honest with you, you get a gun like this that's meant for defense, it's meant for concealed carry, the damn thing better work, and in this case, it absolutely does. Now, as far as accuracy goes, initially in the first shot video, we did have some issues with accuracy, although that did work itself out. To be honest with you, that had nothing to do with the gun. It had everything to do with the optic that sadly still sits on the gun just because the screws are stuck and I just didn't want to take it off for the review, so we put up with it. But this is the Primary Arms Classic Series. Now, traditionally, I really like Primary Arms stuff, but this optic I did not like. Fucking red dot is garbage. Like, I mean, garbage tier. We had some shifts in zero occasionally, and it became less and less throughout the testing to where we could get more and more consistent with it, but still shooting out past 50 yards, which we normally do a lot of, was not super possible with the red dot. But again, not the gun's fault, because we would have supreme accuracy for a while, and then we'd have kind of a failure, recheck the dot, and we lost zero again. So overall, the gun is super accurate, and the trigger really does help out with that. It's got a better break than it previously did. Now, is it something like PDP good? No, it's not a pre-cock striker system, but it's really close. It's better than a Glock by a good margin, and that's the Smith & Wesson's main competitor. It's got a pretty good reset and a pretty good break. I would say the break's a little better than the reset, although the nice thing about a heavy trigger is it does tend to force reset, so even though it's a hair longer, it gives you that little push, and it makes rapid fire actually pretty nice. Now, as far as recoil and pulse go, what have we changed with the metal frame? Well, not much. It looks cooler. The metal frame definitely allows you to put that Cerakote on it, and it looks super good. My experience though, it functioned almost the same. You have about 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces more weight in the frame, 30 ounces versus about 28.5 if my memory serves me. But it doesn't really give you very much as far as recoil control because you lose polymer flex, you gain a little bit of weight, it sort of evens itself out. In my personal opinion, it has about the same recoil and pulse. Now, it does give you advantages as well. Obviously, it's going to be more long-term durable in some people's eyes. I personally like it just because it looks awesome, but I do plan on putting, probably at some point, some skateboard tape on the areas that don't have texture, because that's probably the main thing I don't like about the metal frame, is that they had a chance to kind of put some sick checkering on here, and I know that would cost a lot more money because that's manufacturing work, but I really would prefer, at least on the Performance Edition, if they had texturing across the whole thing. I know they'd probably add 50, 100 bucks, but I would personally like to see that, but it again can be fixed with like $3 worth of skateboard tape that you can get on eBay, and you just cut it out all, you know, arts and craftsy, and get your 3rd grade art class on. And all you gotta do is put a little bit there. The magazine release works really well, and I like the trigger so much more than that articulating trigger. Not only is it lighter, breaks better, has a better reset, but it doesn't have that dumbass like hook thing on it they used to have, I assume because that was like a Glock patent thing. But the flat face trigger with the standard trigger bow and the standard trigger safety on it feels really good. It actually feels better than a Glock because it's a little bit wider, and it seems more comfortable for me to push down, and it just feels good overall. Also, on top of that, it doesn't break so far back in the trigger guard that I feel like I'm breaking my finger over too much, and that allowed me to just shoot faster up close, which I liked a lot. The texture wasn't super aggressive to the point where my wife didn't like it either, which was nice because sometimes if you get like 25 lines per inch checkering or something, my wife doesn't like that, and this worked as a good middle ground between the both of us. Sights are good. I like the standard Smith Wesson sights, and I like the fact that it comes with an optic system with plates out of the box. I was a big fan of that as well. You come with plates out of the box. Ooh, I like that because I like mounting a dot right out of the box. I don't like to have to call Beretta and have mine sent to me because they're too cheap to put them in there. So overall, do I think the changes or improvements in the metal frame are worth you buying it? If you have an M&P already and you're not looking to upgrade, the answer is no. If you have an M&P and you're looking to upgrade, you're looking to get something slightly better, I would take a look at it. Because I think at least as far as the performance of the trigger goes, at least is like the good looks of it, and maybe just a little bit more recoil control, I think that it's good enough to definitely buy if you're looking at it and if you're interested. It's an accurate, reliable, durable, good looking firearm. But is it like so much better than the polymer frame that I would go out and throw mine away and get this one? No. But is it good enough for me to add to my collection? Absolutely. Now, one thing I did want to touch on is I think they did an even bigger upgrade when you get into the competitor, because the competitor is going to get its own review, but I think with this longer slide and the slightly lighter performance center trigger, because that's what actually comes in the competitors, the performance center trigger, you've really got something there. So if you're looking at it like a PDP comparison, I would recommend getting into something like this. Overall, I think the gun's pretty badass. I like the Cerakote. And the other thing I did notice, and this is kind of a weird thing, but since it had an alloy frame, the magazine changes seem to go in so much smoother because there is no polymer drag on the magazines. Metal inside the magazine well, and I noticed that the magazine changes just felt really good. That might be subjective, but hey, all gun reviews are subjective. This is just my opinion. And do I think it's worth the around $800 price? I actually do. I think if you're in M&Ps, you like M&Ps, you want to get something metal framed, I think it's a great way to go. I think it's under the $1,000 price point, and for an aluminum frame, alloy frame gun, that's already pretty cheap. Add the fact that you get Smith & Wesson customer service, add the fact that you get the new trigger, add the fact that you can use the same old magazines, and it comes with the optics plates. I think it's worth it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.